starting this fourth session, which is an afterthought. Anyway, I've been asked to chair this afterthought session. I think it's an important session because we tend to, when we talk about feminism or feminist movement, we tend to somehow ignore literature and arts. Although we do know that that is one of the best medium of communicating our thoughts and ideas is literature and different forms of art, performing arts as a result. And therefore, even as an afterthought, I think we should thank the Gender Studies Department for including it. And I would like to also thank both the principal presenters, Raza, Naeem and Dr. Fouzia for their papers, or their thoughts on the issue of art and literature and gender. And we're all talking with reference to feminism and feminist movement. So let's see how this session pans out. I'm going to request that we follow the same format as the previous session. That is, let's have one presentation be talked about and have the question and answer, and then move on to the others. So we'll have two sessions within the two sections of the same session. I think that worked very well, Hafeez, and I think we should adopt it. With that, I would like to, our first section will be on literature with reference to Ismat Chughtai, and Raza Naeem is our presenter for that. His paper is titled Ismat Chughtai's Women, Yes, Dreams, No. The discussant for this is Amna, Hafeez, Mobeen. The other section will be for Dr. Fouzia Saeed speaking about indigenous feminisms in Pakistani culture. The attempt, she's trying to begin a discourse around that. And the discussant is Khaleeq. I will invite Raza's introduction. He's a social scientist, he's a book critic and an award-winning translator and dramatic reader based in Lahore. He has been trained in political economy from the University of Leeds in UK and in Middle Eastern history and anthropology from the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville, US. He's presently working on translations of the selected work of Chughtai, Ahmad Qasmi and Abdullah Hussain, and contributes regularly to the Friday Times, which is a weekly tabloid that comes out of Lahore. He has curated and moderated a first ever edition of Banned Books Week in Pakistan in Lahore in September 2014, a second one in September last year, and another one just now. He tells us that he did curate one just last week. He is a recipient of a prestigious 2013-2014 Charles Wallace Trust Fellowship in the UK for his translation and interpretive work on Manto's essays. He is currently the president of the Progressive Writers Association in Lahore. So I now invite Raza Naeem to make his presentation on Ismat Chughtai.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much to our Saeed for a mouthful of an introduction. Thank you to Khawar Saiba for that mouthful of an introduction. I will begin my presentation with a note of protest, having just found out from Fatima that this panel was an afterthought, because, and I think it will be fit in the spirit of the person on whom I'm going to present this paper, because normally the panel on literature is just ignored, not even as an afterthought, it is added on to academic conferences. So my protest is that if it was to be an afterthought, then why at the end of the last day of the conference, and why after the lunch and before the closing ceremony? So I hope that when the future editions of the conference will be held, as I'm sure they will be, the panel on literature will not be an afterthought, it will be a forethought, and it will be placed somewhere, at the head of the conference. Because literature is not supposed to put you to sleep, it is supposed to wake you up and connect you with other disciplines. But I'm very grateful to the Center for Excellence in Gender Studies for inviting me from Lahore and, even as an afterthought and facilitating my presence here. I'm very, very grateful to Dr. Farzana Bai. And this is supposed to be Banned Books Week in the United States, and Amnesty International is also celebrating it. It began on Sunday and it ends on Saturday. And of course, Ismat Chughtai was a banned writer. She was banned for her short story called The Half, which, there was some discussion on lesbians in the opening ceremony. So she was one of the first women to say the L word and the F word together, meaning lesbian and feminism, So there was no way she was going to be forgiven for her crime, and she still isn't, at least in this country, for that, because she was also a Muslim woman per se. And her 2015 was celebrated as her birth centenary year, and today happens to be International Translation Day, so I will make an offering to because I'm a translator myself, I will make an offering to Saint Jerome, who is the patron saint of all translators, and my presentation is not going to be very academic, because I am sure you have heard, I have heard actually for the last 2 days, some splendid academic papers, so I will, of necessity, shorten my remarks, and then I will move on to the text of Ismat Chughtai, which is a very provocative text, and it is much more provocative when you read it in Urdu. And because we have been talking about language as well here, that what type of language we are using, Urdu, English, I also have the Urdu text of her essay with me, so hopefully I will be quoting from it, and I'm sure, I hope that the audience will, and the chair and the discussant will also talk about the translation, the quality of the translation, for which Ismat Chughtai should not be blamed. I'm solely to blame for that. Okay. So I will just begin my presentation now. Now Ismat Chughtai is universally regarded as one of the 4 pillars of Urdu fiction in our time. Apart from her contemporaries Saadat Hasan Manto, Rashid Chandra and Rajinder Singh Bedi, this year, 2015, is being celebrated as her birth centenary year. While in India, she and her legacy is being feted and commemorated, in Pakistan, this unrelenting and daring champion of women's rights and feminism and lesbianism, who anticipated by a few decades the heaven stormers of the 1960s, powered and pioneered in the West by Simone de Beauvoir, Betty Friedan, and German Greer, has been consciously ignored. So she was writing about all these things in India, in colonial India, in the 1940s, much before, the heaven stormers of the 1960s were, just 20 decades later. Perhaps first, and why is she ignored? That was also the question while I was preparing this abstract. Why is Ismat Chughtai consciously ignored in Pakistan? Perhaps firstly, owing to the controversy she created with one of her earliest short stories, Lihaf, The Quilt, which was banned in 1942 for its erotic and lesbian undertones and overshadowed almost the whole of Chughtai's subsequent work, much to her chagrin. Chughtai subsequently won the case and went on to write many masterpieces in short fiction as well as in the longer form, of which the most notable is Tedi Lakir, The Crooked Line. It stands out among her 6 novels with its choicy and largely autobiographical heroine Shamman, short for Shamshad, who matures from a precocious, rebellious, independent-minded girl to a politically conscious feminist activist involved in the Indian independence struggle. For a writer routinely nicknamed as the female Manto, owing to her rebellious and daring persona, by some, and Lady Chengiz Khan, because she, being a Chughtai, traced her ancestry from a Temurling or Tamerlane. By others, her life and legacy are surprisingly ignored and marginalized by scores of middle-class girls here in Pakistan who are glued to pop schlock television serials, and the most recent examples being Hamsafar and more recently Manmail, you know, and Bollywood films advocating female submission and stereotyping. Not for nothing then are the achievements of courageous icons like the 2014 Nobel Peace Prize laureate Malala Yousafzai scorned and belittled by a section of our own so-called liberal elite. The second reason why Chughtai could never become a household name in Pakistan may have to do with the controversy regarding Chughtai's burial rites. She was cremated as per her own wishes rather than buried as per the orthodox Muslim tradition. Now, critics have unfairly stereotyped Chughtai as a spokesperson for the respectable women of the Indian Muslim middle class, owing to her unmatched knowledge of the inner lives of the middle class Muslim Zanana. Some even refuse to regard her as a great fiction writer. So, as I mentioned before, 2015 was celebrated as her birth centenary. And on the 24th of October next month, we will be celebrating her 25th death anniversary. So I have translated one of Chughtai's lesser known essays called Woman or Aurat, which is also often published in anthologies as Half Woman, Half Dream, Adi Aurat, Adha Khawar, which provocatively lays bare the hypocrisy of the male champions of women's rights and the myths they have constructed about women, and then proceeds to invent nothing less than a new language for the women of our own time. So I hope it will aid a much needed understanding of Chughtai and her work in Pakistan, away from the vilification and hagiography, especially for the new generation of readers in our own still young country. So I will just proceed to render to you dramatically this text, which is very provocative. I'm sure Chughtai won't have apologized for it if she was alive. So I quote, "Woman, woman, woman, bad, good, disloyal, loyal, this, that, and God knows what else. In every country and era, great thinkers have always established some opinion about woman. Someone is emphasizing on her beauty, another insists on her purity and decency. One person thinks that woman's status is only second to God. Another is hell-bent on making her the devil's maternal aunt. One person pontificates, a deceitful woman is more dangerous than a deceitful man, as if someone says that a dark woman is darker than a dark man. What a wonderful thing to say. One feels like dancing with joy. And had I not been a woman myself, and these aphorisms not taken me aback, I would have kissed those uttering them. The problem is that these foolish aphorisms have made one totally lost. And the interesting thing is that the extent to which men have claimed to understand women, the latter have never made any such statement about the former to that extent by using their brains. Men said, man is cruel. The women quietly began to suffer the cruelty. Men said, woman is a coward. The women began to shrink even from a female mouse. It was pronounced, when the time comes, women put their lives at stake. And pop, the latter put their lives on stake. The whole world acknowledges motherly love. No one cries for fatherly love. Woman's honor can be defiled, but not the man's. Maybe man doesn't possess honor which can be ravished. Woman gives birth to a bastard or legitimate child, but not the man. For centuries, thinkers have been trying to bamboozle women by ascribing such absurd accusations to them. They either praise them to high heaven or throw them in the mud. But they are at pains to put them on the same pedestal with themselves. They will make a woman a goddess or a heavenly creature, but will be ashamed to call them a friend and comrade. I don't understand whether this is an inferiority complex or a misunderstanding. After all, why do they fear equality of women? She is also a human being. Why do men become nervous having women on an equal footing with the former? Can't a man forget for a moment that equality doesn't necessarily mean inferiority? Everyone knows that a woman can only become a mother, daughter, wife, and sister, but not a father, son, husband, and brother. Then why say repeatedly that she was born for this former purpose? Doesn't a woman even know that she is a woman? With which is being repeatedly told to her? Or do the men know that being a mother and wife is to chew on iron gram? That is why the latter are hammered into a woman's brain as if she was born for this use. She should be proud of this interesting status. Is there anyone who can make these men understand as to which accursed woman ever denied this? Who is inviting the men to come bear children and breastfeed them? Then why such a need to repeatedly make a show of it? When a woman becomes a widow, her bangles are broken. No one thinks about breaking a man's watch, spectacles, or hookah. A widow is also forced to change her dress. People's hearts would burst were she to wear a colored dupatta or bangles in her hands. It's only the men who go about in their achkan angarka, all suited. Such a pitilessness that he doesn't even pretend to be mourning. Although the way women feel for a dead husband, a man feels for his dead wife. Many women and men do not feel it, but the women have to put on a false show. A person pronounces, "The glory of the woman lies in that the world should be unacquainted with her. The husband's love is her abundant treasure and small household is her world." Why, sir, if a woman achieves fame, she is not wresting it away from your own share in it. It is Allah's gift. Why do you feel hurt by it? What cheapness. Woman or man, if he or she does something worthwhile in the world, how would it blemish anyone's glory? If a man's honor is not reduced by his fame, why would a woman's fame affect her greatness? If the wife is crass illiterate, it makes no difference. But if the husband is less educated than the wife, there will be darkness. Since some great thinker's aphorism will be dishonored, when Dr. Naidu was referred to as Mrs. Sarojini Naidu's husband, he used to act all embarrassed. Millions of women throughout the world happily live as a wife of their husband, not suffering from an inferiority complex. The moment a man is born, his superiority is blown into his ear, and his innocence is such that he actually believes that he is higher than the world's most brilliant woman, just for the reason that he is a man. Then when he finds a woman more educated and wiser than himself, he hates her, because at that time he cannot deceive himself. Can my cook be superior to Madame Curie just because he is from the male race, which is generally regarded as being above women? But if you don't believe, ask your cook or washerman. He will say that a woman can never be equal to a man. Another person pronounces, "If a woman's heart is pierced, it will contain nothing but perseverance, patience, hidden sacrifices, and unseen qualities." Well, this is the limit. I asked a male doctor, he said, "This is all nonsense. The structure of the male and female heart is exactly the same, and nothing frivolous comes out of it." Furthermore, listen to this. The same doctor says, "A woman is not a more large-hearted than a man. It depends upon temperament. Education and training affects women and women equally." Another person commands, "When a child is breastfed for the first time, the mother goes red with happiness and starts trembling." Women must have anticipated that the commanding personage is a man, and whatever he has written is based on hearsay. He has undoubtedly never fed a child himself, and does not know how painful it is when a child is breastfed for the first time. The mother who goes red and trembles definitely does not do so in love and mirth. Her color must have changed owing to anguish. I am saying this because men coin these so-called proverbs for no reason. They don't even think that according to them, even women are now not mere women anymore. They have started to obtain a lot of information. Oh yes, they will not be lured by these well-worn sentences. Please address them with plain judiciousness. It is better not to claim to understand women more than the women themselves. Your secrets will be out for free. Wherever did you get the leisure to waste your time getting involved in arguments about superiority and inferiority? Discrimination based on gender, color, and race is disappearing at a rapid speed. The world is progressing in the field of industry and the arts with great speed. Now there is increasing demand for workers. Women have to share the work in every sector. The Western woman is forced to earn a living despite domestic machines of 1,000 kinds. That is why men have to share equally in helping with domestic work and rearing children. If the wife washes the dishes, the husband does the grooming. The wife sets the beds, the husband feeds the child by preparing his milk bottle. Both prepare the breakfast and meal together, ready the children, and then go to work. The woman who doesn't go to work doesn't sit idle, gossiping. She does the washing, ironing, and brings the domestic provisions. Much of the time is saved. That is why she also works part-time. But despite this, manages to make do with difficulty. But our men here are leading on the flock of women using the staff of long-winded, unwieldy aphorisms. However straitened the circumstances, the wife will stay at home, adding to its embellishment. The husband will grow with fatigue, but at least his honor will be saved. The woman will remain at home with her basket of femininity intact. However embarrassed their children might be due to non-payment of fees, and the moneylender make life difficult for the husband with his incessant demands, but because some old man had died saying, "A woman's world is her home," so the women will remain confined to the house on the lines of their ancestors. The most golden aphorisms have been ordered about the decency and purity of women. It is ordered that nature has made a woman such that she loves and dies for one person alone. And men? Man's nature has variety. He turns towards a new woman every instant. Why, sirs, who has given you this news? The woman's nature has also been adapted to your requirement so that you can proceed with your whoring with abandon, blaming nature, and use it to chain the wife's feet, lest by going against nature, she seek out the neighbor and lose her feminine delicacy in the process. Over and above this, the men have even shoved in nature into this conspiracy, although this tactic has never been successful. Whenever women sought to attract men, men never even knew. They believed that women are virtuous and decent. This is their nature. Then why to fear? But someone please ask them, who has told you that women only love once? This is all artificial talk. The times are changing and cannot be stopped by these aphorisms. The values of life will change, good or bad directions. However much we mourn, rack our brains, the circumstances will not let women remain at their homes in peace. We should think what sort of training we should impart to our sister, daughter, mother, and wife when we are forced to send them to work alongside the men. Whether we should advise them according to the ancient aphorisms to maintain their shame and modesty and to drown themselves within the feelings of femininity at all times, or that when you go to work, do not take your femininity with you and heirs with you. Do your work there on the basis of your labor, not on the basis of your femininity. It is better that your colleagues do not feel that you're a woman. Rather, they should mind their own business by treating you as a fellow worker. After all, they are men. You're a woman. Do not knowingly make a show of this to them, so that both of you can keep your mental peace, and instead of being attracted to each other, you are inclined towards work. In Western countries, women work alongside the men, but blow the trumpet of their femininity rather more than is required. They will use makeup every hour, do their hair, and will use every air and grace to get a date or invitation which has reached them via newspapers and magazines. Thousands of products and perfumes are advertised in their magazines merely to lure men as bait. It has also been ingrained in the heart of their women that their life has only one purpose, which is to be loved by someone who marries them and bestows upon them the gift of progeny. But how many girls are there who can fulfill these life dreams by using the prescriptions given in magazines? The majority consists of those who lure men and then become the latter's victims and spend their entire lives waiting for the prince of the fairies. A country where women are so unfortunate and their thoughts so distracted, no wonder their boys become teddies and their girls forceful regarding their femininity. I saw women working in every field in Soviet Russia. No one had any makeup on their faces, yet neither the hair had been done. Most of them were uniformed like the men, so that it was difficult to identify them. They seemed absolutely like men. I thought ill of this murder of femininity. I inquired, and my Soviet comrade told me We don't want anyone displaying their femininity or masculinity during work. Why? In that case, won't they become machines? That's even better. So you think machines are something insignificant? Said the Soviet comrade. The handmade machine is only a little less sacred than the idol carved from stone. If stones listen to us, these machines too are our overlords, more beloved to us than cows and oxen, because we ourselves have made them with great love. Now, if we become like them and work with as much nobility and honesty, the purpose of our life will be fulfilled. There are neither women nor men among these machines. Similarly, their operators too do not have a gender. Everyone is a worker and machine. But at the night's banquet, I saw these machines had come alive, and the rights of life and humanity were being duly accorded in full. In the factory, there was a machine to melt iron hair, one for shaping it there. Here was Masha, there Natasha. On one side were machines for shaping the machine parts, and on the other were Yuri and Vera. But in the Bolshoi theater, Yuri's arm was around Nadia's waist, and Natasha was busy driving the arrows of her intoxicating eyes in Romanov's heart. If a woman shows her womanhood at the right opportunity, it befits her. But what is this that she goes on gathering the basket of femininity in colleges, offices, and departments? When we know that women will indeed have to work with men tomorrow, if not today, we will have to construct new aphorisms, forgetting the present ones. 1. In college or school, you are neither mother nor daughter, nor beloved, just a student, and the others are professors and students. Number 2. In offices, you are neither loyal nor disloyal in love, just do your work properly and forget your ears. Number 3. The people who are around you are all human, neither men nor women. They are either officers or clerks. Here is a table, chair, and peon. You are neither weak nor strong, neither the delicate sex nor the harsher sex. Your work is for what you get paid until you change your profession. You have been created by nature for this same use. You are here not for luring a husband or a wife, but only for work. Neither take advantage nor damage anyone with your physical or